Hello and welcome to another Happy, Healthy and Healed with Tracy and Claire, myself, from ATA. We're very excited to be joined by two amazing women, both in the field of vibrational medicine. So we have Kate Hart and we have Gretchen Weger Snell, and hopefully I've said that right, Gretchen. Apologies if I didn't. But these two ladies have collaborated together to create some amazing research to prove that vibrational medicine works, especially from natural sounds. And we're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk all about your lives. So let's start. Let's hear all about, Gretchen, how you guys met, where
did the journey of sound begin?
Yes, and everything else that you're doing, which is all very exciting.
Yeah, that needs to be shared.
Okay, so I've been in practice using both natural and energy medicine for probably over 30 years. I was a singer when I grew up, so sound is very precious to me. So it's very precious to me. And Kate, it was a client of mine, and we clicked immediately. I knew she was doing work with sound, and I happened to be in the process of writing my dissertation for my PhD, was looking for a topic, and she came in and talked to me about how she was using sound on people, and sometimes the results were like, whoa, people felt great, and other times they didn't feel so good. She said, I don't know how to monitor and see what I'm actually doing. So I said, well, I do. I know how we can check this. So we designed a study and we tested instruments, we tested voice, we tested all kinds of different things and worked on it for weeks until we put a final compilation together to look at observing the effects of an energy type of energy medicine. We call it, we ended up with what I call a bioacoustic home accord. There's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And we, I ran a series of objective measurements to get a reading on how this improved the body. And we've been following it over time. And yeah, Kate, you want to pick it up from here and fill in?
Yeah. So it wasn't enough for me that I was getting results. I didn't want to be, part of the crowd, so to speak. That's kind of my nature. I want to find my own individual voice. And where people were just making claims, but they couldn't prove it. And I wanted to be able to prove it. And that's what Gretchen could bring to the table. Like, can we prove what's happening in the body, right? Through sound. And so that's where we collaborated. So I can take it from here and talk about why that sound was different, and we think, it was so.
We'll know about you and where your journey with sound started.
Oh yeah, okay, that. Okay. So I've had a really healthy music career. I've been nominated for Grammys and probably close to either the recipient or nominated for probably 40, 50 music awards. I was really into it. And, but it's blues. I mean, it's pretty easy to do with blues. And, well, not easy, but you have a better chance than if you're a pop singer. So anyways, and then in retrospect, I realized that blues is the healer music. And I'd written a play about it and written a book, and in story form, and I noticed through my writing, wow, this really is the healer music, and that the blues is the joy of singing about your pain, and that it takes a really a special kind of personality, or a certain kind of personality, that is willing to go there. And the deeper you go, and the more personal the pain is, the ones that's most universal. So if you're willing to go there and share that, then you're connecting in a very profound way. And actually, I worked with someone by the name of Kathy McDonald, who's one of the greatest singers I've ever worked with, sang with the Rolling Stones, Elton John, what have you. And she would go so deep and be so raw. And you know, I used to say she was missing a layer of skin. Like it's a huge commitment to sing that kind of music. Well, when I left the music business in 2007 to become a full-time gardener, which I managed to do for a while, but then I got yanked back into doing all of this. I ended up sometimes somehow doing sound therapy, and I cannot tell you how I ended up there. I mean, I've thought about that a lot, and you know, I was just coming up with different kinds of information that what just wasn't available, you know, and it was everything from that I needed to sing every note 12 times to have a deep field of harmonics, to that it was based on the Schumann resonance of the earth, to that it had to be done with the human voice because that's the natural, you know, harmonics is the human voice. The human voice is harmonics. That's what the ear is going to be really friendly to and want to take in, or actually the whole body will. So it was just, you know, it seemed to be a fairly individual or journey. I was carving out my own path. And so it was important to me that it could be measured, right? Because I wanted to talk about it in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
I think everyone these days likes to have some kind of proof, don't they? Well, not me, to be honest. I think the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. And how you feel.
I think I'd rather just try it out and see how it works on myself, and then that's my proof. But I understand you need that piece of paper these days. Yeah. So tell us about bioacoustics. Like, how do you find it? Where is it? Like, what is it? Is it something you listen to? Like, tell me a little bit about it.
Well, I would love for Gretchen to really say what bioacoustics is and the science of it, what it is. I mean, for me, bioacoustics is the human voice. It's natural sounds. It's nature.
Yeah.
And as we talked a little bit before, it's the essence of who and what we are.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's the breath of God. There's nothing except sound. That's it. You know, everything, every thought, everything.
Only sound from the human voice? Do you have any instruments?
Well, nature, anything that's, you know, I mean, and even, you know, I mean, everything's frequency, even, you know, electronics and what have you, you know, but the ones we want, I believe that we want to connect to are the natural state. Yes. You know, of what sound really is. You know, sound is it's truth, it's honesty, it's love, but it's also other things too. But you know, how do we incorporate what we want in our life or what we think we need in our life, and you know, incorporate that and move through life in a more profound way, right? So Gretchen, what do you want to talk about this?
So bioacoustics, I mean, the word's been around for a while. It literally means the effect of sound or vibration on life. Acoustics, bioacoustics. What was different about what we were doing is we created what I call a bioacoustic home accord. I know that's a mouthful, but in homeopathic medicine, we use something called home accords, which means that you start with the basic vibration and you build on that various different octaves, because as the body is changing, at 1 minute, it may need something at this ratio, and at the next minute, it might need something else. So the cells in the body, the organs, the tissues, they all have collective frequencies that the vital essence kind of keeps in check. And if when those frequencies get disturbed or they get lost, and it could be a physical or an emotional thing that comes in and knocks you off balance, the body's going to try to bring it back. But as it brings it back, it vibrates, it oscillates, it's always moving. And those and the harmonics are what allows it to expand and contract and move. And that expansion and contraction is necessary for healing, because you need to take in and you need to let go. Take in the breath, let go of the breath. Taking food, you let go of the waste product. Taking energy, you let go of the waste. So it's when you have a single generated electronic frequency, what it can do is entrain the body and the tissues and kind of lock it in to where it has no harmonics. It doesn't have that vibrational frequency, and it kind of locks the body in. And doesn't allow for the healing. Hopefully that explains it a little better?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. That's really clever. So the natural frequencies changes all of that. It livens up the system again. It unlocks the entrainments and makes
it's connecting to what it knows.
Yes, exactly. It remembers.
I mean, it must also, there must be also a sense of when the body is out of balance, though, that also natural things could also then be pushing the body out of balance. Like it just made me think of my daughter when she suffered really, really quite acutely when she was younger, and it was all to do with tree pollen. So there's a vibration within that tree that was putting my daughter's body out of balance. It was cured with homeopathy, by the way, but however, it's interesting to hear it put that way, because it is the vibration between the natural and the human again, and just making that resonate the right way again, isn't it?
That's right. And since everybody is individual, so everybody, their whole conglomeration of how their energy, their vital force, their essence manifests through the physical world, you and I could stand under that same pollen tree, and one of us is going to have a reaction and the other one won't. And that's part of the reason, as a side note, some of this energy medicine, alternative, complementary, whatever you call it, is such a difficult thing because it cannot be streamlined.
Oh yeah, it drives me crazy. It's like somebody gets, like, I just read something, and I don't even know if it's worth mentioning, but they just mentioned that you can't take, what was it, Gretchen, that I asked you about, calcium and magnesium at the same time, and Gretchen just started laughing. She goes, well, the body, how does the body even exist? I mean, you have calcium and magnesium in your body. She goes, they're not going to, and one's not going to cancel out the other. Which she goes, if it's synthetic, it will. But see, that's just one of those things. You read it, people believe it, and then even I read, I went, wait a minute, if I'm taking magnesium, is that killing my calcium? I mean, it was like, so much of that crap, and you just have to, and that's how we met, is like, is discerning claims about things that you go, wait a minute.
And the same thing goes for the music. It's when it's synthetic. It has no harmonics, and it's going to pull you out of balance.
Well, there's a saying that I say all the time. It's where energy flows, biology follows. And you could be taking all these supplements and everything, but if your energetics aren't right, then they're not going to get you. Well, they might get you a little bit, but they're not going to get you far. So
yeah. And here's this is what's so key, and is that there's all these systems out there, and health remedies and what have you, and they don't allow for the lymphatic system to clear things out. So
any of the even any of the tissues, if you don't give it that space, you don't clear, and now you have entrainment. That's
right. So I mean, I have tuned so much into my body. I just go for a chiropractic adjustment, and I'm hammered the whole day, because it's released, scar tissue and things that have been stuck, and if you don't give your body that space, you're going to get really sick. And, so people are just, putting all this stuff in their body, even if it's really good for you. But you've got to give the body a chance to clear. And that's why harmonics are so key, because it does give the body those little minute spaces to move, right? And if you're just doing electrical sound, well, first of all, the body's not going to really take that in that well, but it'll take something in. And now how is it going to clear? There's no movement. I think it's dangerous, and people get really sick. So that's always the missing piece, take this, and this. No, maybe not. You got to be really, really, really careful. And so I, you know, as long as I've been in this world, at this health world, since I was 15, because my mother, God bless her, you know, she was anti-vaccine. She was like no fluoride in the water. I mean, she just got it in the mid 60s. And, you know, we had a chiropractor show up in our kitchen who was really old school, Palmer trained, which is the inventor of chiropractics, and give us adjustments on 3 kitchen chairs, phone books, and a towel. So, I mean, that's, I grew up with that. You know, my mother cooked everything from scratch. We had no money, but, you know, she went out in the yard and picked grape leaves. I mean, you know what I mean? It was just, and so, you know, so the reason I'm telling you that is that I check in with Gretchen all the time. Say, listen, I'm feeling like I need to take this or that, until I can get in and have her test me and go through the system. You know, she'll say, well, don't take this now and take that. So I'm not overwhelming the system. I think it's really important for people to key into a professional that can help them.
Yeah.
Oh, and really stay clear of it. So just because, even with sound, you know, we watched that. I mean, I saw people, they would just be a bit overwhelmed. So for example, we would use the cube from the EE system, but we had a different protocol where we used the bioacoustics sound with the EE system, and Gretchen can talk about why she thinks that was so effective. But we saw that people with, you know, what I saw, like people with cancer, you did not want them to go into the EE system before they went for treatment, right before. You wanted to give them 2-3 days before.
Yeah.
Or else when they went for treatment, they were really sick.
Yeah, I mean, it's overload complete, and you can do that not just with EE systems, with any.
Well, that exactly. It's anything. It could be anything. Yeah. And so, but if they went in like 3 days after, oh, they just felt fantastic, and you know. So, I mean, that to me, that was a study waiting to happen.
Absolutely.
You know, like that's okay. Is that just this person? Well, actually it was several, but it's like, you know, after you 10, 15 people, you say, you know what? So then you say, maybe we don't want to do that, because the body, you know, is already going to be really challenged. You're already going to be detoxing in a big way. And now you're going to go and put the body in crisis again, right?
Yeah.
You know
yes. And the other thing that this study allowed for was so much of energy therapy or energy medicine, even sometimes natural medicine, homeopathics, all that. People say, oh, well, it's subjective. Well, did you feel better? Did you get an improvement here? It's all anecdotal. And I can tell you from the tests I've been running in my clinic for 25 years, you absolutely can observe and measure changes. You can observe the electromagnetic field. You cannot at this point in time measure the subtle energies of the quantum field. So there's people out there that say, oh, hold on to these things and we'll tell you. No, people that say that, sorry, they just don't have a knowledge of physics, because that isn't how it works. But this allowed us to say, here's a vibrational therapy, an energy therapy. So anything that falls into those lines that is technically called energy, it's like, okay, we can apply this to the body and we can observe objectively changes in the energy field. That changes the whole conversation, because it is now not subjective. It is now objective. And with my clients I work on, whether they're doing sound, homeopathic remedies, or whatever, eventually, chemically, the chemistry, the blood work bears that out.
Yes.
Every single time we will see it first in the energy field. Energy is primary, chemistry is secondary. And if they're using the therapies, it will bear itself out in the chemistry.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason this is so important is that we do want to bridge allopathic medicine. I mean, you know, believe me, they're scrambling right now. And so, you know, and Gretchen has that background. She did her pre-med at the University of Michigan. She's no punk. And so, and like, the Quantum Institute, I mean, just so incredibly educated. And so, and that's how she saw herself, as bridging those two worlds. And I've always thought there was value in that. I mean, imagine if they were piping in this music in the hospital rooms. Imagine that. And I know, and let's add color to it too. Let's paint the rooms, let's give them blue blankets and green walls, and and do color therapy. I mean, come on, how hard is this? This stuff is free. It's no cost, doesn't cost it.
And didn't you have somebody that listened to it during a dental procedure?
Oh no, I've used it.
Yeah, that was you. Okay.
Yeah, I've used it, and so have others. Actually, I have a dentist that uses mine. I have some chiropractors that use it too, because it's really easy to give adjustments while people are listening to it. Their body is looser, right? And but no, me, I had to, I was in a car accident, so had some, trauma to my lower jaw stuff. And so I had to have all these teeth extracted. And I am telling you what, I sat with headphones on, and he's like a natural dentist anyway, he's a brilliant guy, but I had headphones on, and that I had Sayonic 3 playing. That's kind of was my go-to, and just playing, and my healing, there was almost no pain. The healing was so fast. It was just incredible that I felt no trauma. When you're having a tooth pulled, all of your meridians end in your mouth. And so when you're pulling a tooth, you're really, I mean, you're putting the body kind of in a state of shock, really. And I was just gliding through it. The dentist couldn't believe it. So he started using it for his patients.
Amazing. Well,
that's my goal. I want to run the world. I want to incorporate this music, and I'm working on it with somebody that, or Gretchen and I are, where we can get it into rap, where we can take these frequencies and put it into rap and different styles of music, and collaborate with these people and give them some information. I mean, take it into the chiropractors and the dentist and the hospitals and the trauma centers. How about where the old folks are at? I mean, it's just, there's no end to the applications of it.
When you're pregnant and your baby.
I have a whole protocol to that's every stage of gestation. It's actually it's on YouTube. It's free, and it's the fertility. It's called fertility, and so it's for people that are having difficulty getting pregnant, and so they can listen to that. And it's the whole gestation, the whole process. I mean, I worked forever on that. It took me 8 months to work on that, and also
it would be exactly the same time.
9 months and then it birthed
yeah.
And then also, it's people while they're pregnant, because what it's doing is it's embracing and supporting the development of the child. So I love, why can't I take that in birth centers?
It's all free. It's free, it's like
it's free.
You are healing the world. People just need to know about it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really important and beautiful. Very grateful.
It's made me think about, Claire and I were lucky enough to do a course quite recently that worked with traditional Chinese medicine, working on the meridian lines, and it's an ancient way of tapping and slapping the body, but again, it's vibration. It's another technique from old that is moving that stagnation, moving the movement through the body, isn't it? Through sound again.
Yeah.
Well, may I put to you that maybe we don't even need to even tap, because the thinking and the thought too is frequency.
Yeah.
So
funny enough, so much of this stuff we've spoken about today, haven't we?
Yeah. So maybe we're not quite there yet, but but maybe some of us are. But it's just us believing that we actually have that capability. That's really all it really is.
Do anything.
Our bodies are always working for us. And the other thing we said was, because I had this ear pain, and I was talking to somebody, and then I went back to my ear pain. And the fact that when I was talking to that person, where did that pain go? Like, where did that pain go when I wasn't thinking about it? So it's like, it's so interesting how even the mind probably plays a part in everything that we're feeling.
Well, sure.
So
Sure. It's yeah, it's, remember again, you know, it's the essence of all life is sound. So it's just intention at this point. You know, it's that's really what it is. And truly believing it. I mean, it's, you can believe it and then you can believe it. And so, because you're also clearing things that are telling you that that's not possible, and you also have trauma connected to it, and you know, maybe you have to go there and just clear that, and that can all be done through intention. So I think that's where we're moving. What do you think, Gretchen?
Oh, definitely. But along the same, again, to go back to what I said before, it was important for us for verification of all this stuff and
Right.
say that it's not just subjective, but it's objective. So we used a couple of different testing modalities that we used heart rate variability, we used autonomic nervous system coherence, we looked at the meridians, and improvements in any of those correlate with improvements on a physiological and chemical and physical scale. There's tomes of research out there for the last 30 years. Institute of Heart Math has done an incredible amount of work looking at these. So those are some of the variables, and we were able to prove that when people used this type of energy therapy, again, it could be any type of energy therapy that's detectable, and that's, I mean, it could be hands-on healing, could be craniosacral, could be homeopathy, could be Tai Chi, any type. What's that?
Aromatherapy, because that's just been proven.
Yes.
That the
Aromatherapy
theory actually works if you've got no sense of smell. That's now.
That's right.
You know, it's the same
right.
what you just shared, Kate, isn't it?
And yeah, right. Incredibly fast too. The aromatherapy. I mean, isn't it something? It's just seconds for the brain to connect. Yeah. Just seconds. Yeah. You know, again, it's just knowing it's there and believing it. And
yeah. But yeah, go back to the testing, Gretchen, what you were sharing before we went off.
That's okay. Well, when we originally put the compilation, we tested all kinds of things, all different types of sounds. When we ended up, the final compilation we ended up with, we had the participants come in. They knew nothing about any of my testing. And just had them he said, here, plop on these headphones and listen to this compilation, and we'll test you before and after. And 80% of the participants had a marked improvement in all their markers just after one listening. We had them take it. Pardon me?
For how long?
For that first day. And then we had them take it. Oh, they listened to it. How long is it? 30, 35 minutes?
Well, yeah, 35 minutes, but we quickly found out they listened to it twice, like back to back. It was huge. The between doing the 30-minute and the 55-minute.
And the real incredible finding was every single one of the participants slept. Nobody sleeps anymore. And every one of them said, we had them take the compilation home and listen to it for 2 weeks. We asked them to please listen to it at least once a day. Most of them listened to it twice or more. And when they came back at the end of 2 weeks, they were able to sustain higher coherence levels. Their heart rate variability improved, and the places where they had energy impedances in the meridians had improved. So that means if you can improve or remove that impedance, then you're not going to get the eventual physical chemical manifestation at the end of the line. The only person that didn't improve was the guy that was a heavy smoker, which was really interesting.
Why do you think that was?
I think it's because the two things, it disrupts a body's ability to carry oxygen. Yeah. And oxygen is required for life, you know. Yeah. You can go a couple days without eating or sleeping, but you can only go a couple minutes without breathing. So it definitely destroys that capacity, which changes the pH, changes everything. I could go down that whole route, but we won't right now. So I don't like take us way off track. That's one of them. So it's a lack of oxygen in the body. And the second is the heavy metals, because cigarettes contain lots of heavy metals.
And we don't have to stretch our brains too much to really understand what people were asked to do over the last couple of years, and they like their oxygen was being compromised by at least 50%.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
Yeah.
And this may, I mean, honestly, I don't know how I went through that without completely losing my mind because of how irrational it was, but it's okay. We learned a lot. And I think we were all kind of facing the anti-hero, in ourselves and what was going on around us. But let me not go down that way. Here's what let me
her though, so it was really good for me.
I got stuck with it. I'm joking.
It's what's interesting is I'm a huge Rudolf Steiner fan, and Steiner was saying that in one of his books that we are now in collectively the throat chakra. Mankind is, right? So that's where we are. Individually, we definitely have rights. So it's like expressing oneself.
Yeah.
Being connected to the core voice, which is work I specialize in. I mean, I do online training, everything, connect people to their core voice. Because once you're in the core voice, the voice you were born with, you're resonating where every time you speak, you're healing yourself. Not only that, but it is the frequency, the sound where it is, people will hear what you're saying because their ear is connected to core voice and those frequencies. So now it's setting up a different kind of communication, which is not impeded. This is my thing. This is my soapbox.
That's just goosebumps my arm. So
it's big. It's big. This is why I was wacko those 2 years and I still now I have a lot more sympathy and I've understood, the bigger picture and all that stuff. But I mean, that's what was so, there can be no real connection if we're not hearing each other, let alone that I can't see you. That was insignificant if I can't see you. But if I can't hear you and I can't resonate with what your sound and you can't resonate with mine, man, I just thought that was bad. And so we don't understand that our own voices are everything. They're everything.
And another point, speaking of that, is that a lot of the research that has been done is that sound of your voice or the sound of nature, the natural frequencies, they go into the ear, into the subcortical structures, and they organize the rest of the brain. So we kind of have it backwards, where we think because we're mammals and we have this ton of gray matter up top, that the gray matter does everything else underneath. And what's been found by the work of Dr. Tomatis and Dr. Porges is that the ear takes in, and when it has things that are harmonic or organized, like Mozart's a great example, because Tomatis used it. When it's organized like that, it organizes the rest of the brain. And a lot of times the kids that have trouble focusing, they're all over the map, or they're very sensitive, it's because those subcortical structures are not organized. And so the top of the brain can't organize. So that's another thing about what we're we're working on is why this is so critical, is because it can give organization to the undersides of the brain. Also, those subcortical structures are what run your capacity for social engagement and social connection, because that portion of the ear connects directly to the autonomic nervous system. So what the brain is processing is either going to feel contentment, joy, or and all those affirming emotions, or it's going to feel the negative emotions. And then that's going to feed upward on how we feel safe, feel honored, feel
accepted,
in order to that connection. So that kind of feeds into what Kate was saying.
Yeah.
What you just shared, Kate, previously over the last few years, what's happened as a therapist, whatever you want to call me, that's one of the biggest things that I have seen. The social situation, social anxiety, the isolation. This is with children, my mother, older, it doesn't matter what age group. That has had such a profound impact, hasn't it? On so
yeah, because well, it was designed to. So it's the once in fear, the limbic system, once in fear, the maybe, or I don't even think it's maybe, is that sound can come in and heal that, can eliminate that fear. I mean, I really believe that's possible. But what chance do you have when you're being muted? You can't get to it. It's all shut down. So even if you wanted to incorporate self-healing, and you're walking around, and I believe me, I know a lot of people were pressured. So I get it. I totally get it. But it's like, they just don't have a chance of really healing themselves through sound. I mean, it's been proven over and over again. It doesn't take much to get somebody there. And then once they're there, it almost seems impossible to get them out of that fear. It's so that has been at a crisis.
Yeah.
I do have to say, though, that we should not forget that we are evolving no matter what. Can't be stopped. And which I find hilarious, because of all the concerted effort for that not to happen. It's like, whatever, we're still evolving. And I love when people go, I go, yeah, they name all these things that are going on, and I know what's going on, but it's like yeah, but they're failing because we're still evolving. Yeah. No matter, if the food is wrong and the water is wrong and the air is wrong and everything else, you're still, hello, we're still here, we're still evolving. So it's give us your best shot, because we're not going anywhere. So we need to remember that, who and what we are. Remember, we're the sound of the breath of God. Now, who the hell has the power to destroy that? Sorry. So, we need to stay very connected to the truth. And that is the truth, so that Gretchen always laughs, people are running around talking about EMFs and everything. I go, yeah, that stuff doesn't even bother me. I don't care. It's just like, it's just, I'm 72, I feel pretty darn good. I think I'm still kind of cute. And so, and my
very cute.
You look amazing.
And you look, great.
And my brain's still working, and I'm still incorporating new information, and I'm excited about life and what have you. And it's just
sharing, which is
and I've drunk my share of diet pop and all of it. So I'm just a human being like everybody else, and I'm still thriving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like we have to remember that we're powerful.
Yes, we are. Yeah, definitely. And actually, I know it's just out of interest, because we're quite interested in EMFs. So tell me, Gretchen, can you speak about EMFs? Like, why do you don't worry about them at all, or?
Oh, she does.
Okay.
I thought you meant she doesn't. Come on, share.
I don't. I
No,
don't.
I do, Kate. Kate,
She does.
Kate laughs at me.
Yes, I do.
Because they are obviously
Well-
they're one frequency, aren't they? They're not a harmonic frequency, I would imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's entrainment. So if you have something like that, there are all kinds of studies that have been suppressed in this country that have been done overseas and in Russia that show when you are entrained to some of these frequencies of these devices that we're using, that it definitely causes all kinds of issues, all
Yeah.
kinds, physical, emotional, mental, and just like anything else, like the two of us standing under the tree with the pollen, some people do really well with it and
Yeah.
it doesn't bother them. I have some clients that the medical system kind of doesn't know what to do with them. It's the electrical fields.
Yeah.
It's these electromagnetic fields and how we're electrifying the airwaves, the planet, everything. Some people, their bodies, their constitution just does not handle it.
If you think about it, if we're electrical beings, vibrational electrical beings, it's an electrical vibrational thing. So it's going to have an effect, whether
That's
or not
right.
it or not.
Or
but-
whether you feel
Yeah.
it. Well,
Well, I think, I mean, the caveat to this is I think that I really don't have much, I don't live in fear. And I'm not saying that people are concerned about this or fearful. I'm really not saying that. What I'm saying is, there's things I'm concerned about, right? I mean, I work hard at eating healthy, and that's getting harder and harder to do.
Yeah.
And but I mean, I put some real effort into it, and I drink good water, and I mean, I do those things.
cheers.
I want to, what? I've got somebody coming on Sunday that is bringing a copper mat and ground. They put a copper wire in through my wall behind my bed and going to ground me to the ground.
Lovely.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know how that goes.
They're on, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, I think I have such it's just about not having the fear, so I just have very little fear. I mean, Gretchen will tell you,
Well, that's a good point to bring up too, because sound can induce fear. I mean, think about it. What's the soundtrack on a horror movie?
Yes.
Those low tones that you just hear the music. You don't even have to see what's on the screen.
Yeah,
You hear the music in it. So there's certain dark sounds and very, very low vibrational frequencies that are almost beneath our hearing level.
Yeah.
Those they're proven to cause fear, anxiety, distress. Now think about some of our music. I don't think things that are electronically generated. I think they're sound.
Yeah.
And they may even be pleasing
Yes.
to the ear,
Yeah.
but they're not music and they don't have those vibrations and things. And that can induce, I mean, it is utilized. This is stuff that is known. I don't want to go out on some conspiracy like dark area, but it is known, it's been studied, been utilized, that some of these low frequency sounds definitely can induce even type of a mass hysteria.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't surprise me.
So that's what one of the other things about these compilations is it will bust that up.
Yeah.
It'll break that up.
I'm gonna
And
get
it'll restore the natural, because we have the sounds of the planets and different parts of the solar system and all the chakras and all the different meridians and the organ systems. There are ancient tones that have been used since the dawn of time, different systems.
Mantras and all the different things.
That's right.
We're all sound.
And those cultures that use that, they use sound and percussion, what's the other word I'm trying to think of, the rhythms, things like that. That was all part of the healing.
Yeah.
All
But,
part of the healing process.
Yeah, it's I mean, maybe this is a bad example. I don't think it is, but I studied, shamanism, all that stuff for a long time. And one of the things that we were tasked to do was we kind of met in the ethereal realm, and and to I would never do it now, but it was in the beginning, and so so I did it, but where you take on the dark forces, right? And so everybody goes into meditation and what have you. Everybody's like this warrior, and people say, well, how'd you do, Kate? And I go, it was great. I just whistled, skipped, and laughed, and I said everything just fell away. So to me, that going into battle was ridiculous. Why would I bring that energy?
Complete and utter,
Yeah. So
everything's switched on. It's the opposite.
Right. So that's when I'll be with, because believe me, I've got people that are all the way in. I mean, and every thought they have is, oh my God, that's coming. Oh, that's that. How do they sleep at night? I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, I see it. Okay, anyway, gotta go. It's like, where am I going to put my energy? Am I going to put it there? Or am I going to now break free from the matrix where all that weirdness is? It's got nothing to do with who I am as an entity, as this human being that's connected to the breath of creation. Am I going to hang out there with all of that stuff? Or am I just going to create my own world in my own reality, which 5 planets in Libra is easy to do, is like, create my own reality of what is truth and what is God and what is created and what is, the magic of my life and what I am. And I'm getting that loud and clear. More and more.
Kate's truth, yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I can worry about that. Or how about if I just get busy creating my own reality, do the hard work, and connect with the creator? End of story. That's pretty darn simple.
Yeah, that's a good lesson for us all. Because I go in and out. I sort of
Sure, we do.
Go into that zone, and then I think, God, what am I doing? You have such small amounts that you can personally control, and that's pretty much nothing but yourself.
That's right, which is big. I mean, nothing is bigger than that.
Yeah.
The world, that's fake. I mean, the real thing is you and the essence of who and what we are. All of that stuff is it's just fake. It's pretend. Yeah. So, focus over there at the pretend world where all the, that's where you're controlled. That's where the fear is coming from. And, who's ever managing that, that all that fear, that's really serving them well. I mean, they wouldn't even have to put anything in the sky or in the water or anything. They've already done it with fear. So, it's like
in the water and everything else anyway, because it's all a frequency, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So,
honestly, I'm going to get one of those I've got a picture, one of those vans with the big speakers on the top. Get one of your what's the one that you always recommend?
Oh, Sayonic 3.
Sayonic, and I'm just going to drive around the street.
I'm straight there now, visually that. Can I ask you, now we're talking about stuff like this, because it does things like this really fascinating. I was lucky enough to go to a concert in London at St Paul's Cathedral. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Oh, sure.
And I've never been in there, so it was big for me. And me and my daughter went to this concert, and there was an orchestra involved and a gentleman singing and percussion, and I was that person just like, oh my God, look at this place. And I was counting like all of the symmetry of the place. Oh my God, there's 3 big circles that way, there's 3 that way, there's 8 gods around there, there's 8 arches, just trying to work it all out. And then when the sound come on, you can imagine, just infused by this beauty of this orchestra and singer. So what is your take on some of these old incredible structures that are all over the world? Do you think there's a lot going on there with sound? What's your take on that?
Well, the pyramids, like the Great Pyramid, is if you measure it, it's actually the key of F, in and outside of it, which is the heart. So, things like that are interesting. It's all sacred geometry, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, again, that's just carrying its own frequency because it's
you're in the building or you're looking down.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
it's really easy to see, isn't it? A lot of yours.
right. So it's aligning with who and what we are. Sacred geometry is is everything. It's just the math, really. It's the math of the frequency. So, yeah, I mean, Gretchen, what input do you have?
Well, there's actually a really interesting, well-known study of monks. I don't remember when this was done, but the monks in the Far East, and they do their chants and in the sacred temples, and it would create incredible resonance. It was beautiful. And I don't know why, I don't recall why they said, oh, we're going to stop that. And now we're going to have silence. Well, one by one, the monks started getting sick, ill, physically and psychologically. And that this went on for months until finally somebody said, maybe we should chant again. And as soon as they started chanting and you had all that reverberation and all that harmonics, that was their voice, was coming out of them, coming through them, and then be reflected back to be metabolized back, then all of them healed. And they decided, we're not going to do that again. We're not going to do that again.
I actually I do some throat singing, and that stuff's powerful.
Throat singing, tell us.
Well, let's see. I haven't done it.
I bet it's not as good as this.
That's what we're listening to. Wow.
And I look cute when I do it.
Really mesmerised then. It's just like
So it's kind of like that didgeridoo sound, but that I do that in sound sessions, or I've done it when we have a group of people and we're doing core voice, and that just goes to the center of everybody. That's that. It's the human voice. It's rich with harmonics because of where it's vibrating, right? And especially when you're doing it kind of in the back, like when you're doing the gung, I'll show you what I mean, like this. It's going in through the mask, which is where sound lives.
I was trying to figure out how to do that. I was like, no, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, it's actually like gargling without the water.
Okay.
now I want to try.
Yeah, I want to try.
Later.
Yeah. So I learned it from a Native American, who's the most unusual man. It's Native American black man. He was just an interesting guy. And so he called me out of nowhere. I had my studio, my voice studio, and he said, I'd like to do a workshop. So I got about 15 people. Everybody could do it except me. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm a vocal coach and everything. And then I walked outside and I got in my car and I'm going to try it one. And then it happened. And once you can do it, you can always do it. You never forget, So I love it. There's something really, when you have those low tones like that, like when my bowls were really like the lower register, it clears disrupted energy. So it's really nice. That's why I don't favor the crystal bowls. I know everybody loves them, but people like to feel all woo-woo and high and spacey. I'm all about grounding. That's all I think about, grounding. How do we ground? How do we connect to the earth? That's our healer. That's our mother. I want to go there. I don't need to go out into the dimensions. I want to be connected, fully connected here. This is where the information is for right here, right now. And that's where our healing is to connect to our mother. We don't try and get away from her.
No.
Right. You know, I want it, you know.
Because there's quite a difference as well with some of the crystal bowls. You can get the ones that are just the plain white, the clear quartz, and then you'll get the other ones that will be infused with other platinums and gold and rose quartz and all the others. Again, it's going to give you a completely different frequency with what
Yeah,
you're
it is.
doing,
Yeah,
and how it's going
yeah,
to resonate the body, apart from one pitch, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And you know, it's the same as when we're working with chakras. And I'll turn this over to Gretchen because she probably really can talk about the medicine of all that. Is like, you know, you work and balance the root chakra first, you know, and then you know, you work up there. So that's why the connection I like to have is with earth. And I just have this profound love and compassion for Sophia and how she's never given up on us. I mean, I almost can't talk about it, not cry, because she's so amazing. And just never gives up. She never gives up.
The true goddess.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think, Gretch?
Well, I think that the grounding is so essentially critical for everything, because, and it's really this simple, is there is no future. I mean, there is, you know, obviously tomorrow's hopefully going to come, or the Earth's not going to crack in half tomorrow and swallow us, although that could happen. But, you know, technically right now, yes, right now. And the past is gone. You can't do anything about either of those. The only place that you can do is right here and right now. That's where that's what your power is to focus on. So a lot of my work with people is, although I'm giving them herbs and homeopathic remedies and things like that, I'm trying to reconnect them to ground inside themselves. And sometimes when you have these remedies that have these profound vibrational shifts, energy shifts in their body, people are like, they don't, whoa, because they haven't been seated in their body in a really long time. They're living over here, over there. I remember one time that when I first started practicing or learning, the doc said, I tell you, okay, we're about done, and you're out the door in the hall down the street before we're even done. You've already left your chair. You know, you have to learn how to just be present. And I think if that's a huge point to come back to all the time, is the central part of our being. And that's a difficult place to be, because when you sit there, people say, oh, I can't meditate. Well, then I teach them a walking Qigong meditation or something, so they can't. So, okay, you got to move. Yoga, some people do much better with it because they can't just sit there. Because when you are fully in your center and you're open, all the garbage that's stuck comes in, and the pain of that comes in. And so it's us sitting through and metabolizing that opens it up. Now, obviously, if you've had huge traumas, you're not going to swallow that whole thing all at once. I've been involved in lodges, sweat lodges and things where people, you don't do that. It's what the body can handle. That's partly what my testing does, is it tells me what the body can handle right here and right now. But my point is that when we can sit through and embody that, then it frees it up. It opens the dam. We spend so much energy. It's like Carolyn May said one time, you have 14 toasters plugged in and you haven't even set your feet on the floor to get out of bed. You wake up, it's like, I gotta, and then you just gave all of your energy away. So part of our healing task is really simply, how many toasters do I have plugged in? Where's my energy? Who and what am I allowing to grab that energy, that precious energy? Where this vital force that I have inside me, my essence, is for me to heal my cells and fill my cup up first. And when it overflows, then we give out. Too many of us have been trained in Western civilization that, you know, we give and we give and we give. We have this much left in our cup.
And then we give that bit away as well.
and then yes, and then there's nothing left. So your task is nothing but to fill your own cup And from that, it will automatically overflow and connect.
And so, so how does one do that? Because it is really quite simple, I think, is that, because we all go off the beam. So, it's just a lot of distractions, and I'm easily distracted. Actually, I walk really slow because if I don't, my head is in the clouds. It just is. And so I will run into something, fall over something. I mean, honestly, it's pitiful. And I've got the
It's true. I've watched her.
I've got the broken bones to prove it. Like, oh, how did you fall through a ceiling? And I go, you really don't want to know, and it's so, I mean, it's just, so now I've been forced in my old age. I walk really slow, like, okay, do I make a left here? Is that a sturdy step? So I probably look like I'm 90, but it's a way for me to slow down and be in my body and pay attention. The minute I don't pay attention, I run into something. It's just how I'm built, and so it's been my lesson, is just be in the moment, physically be in the moment. Or I'm just, because I'm just out, I'm thinking about the next project, what I can do, and look, there's a bird over there, and it's pitiful. So I just have to really slow myself down, and it's the only way I know how to do it, is just move slower.
That is me all over. Yeah, I walk around the house and it's like there's 50 jobs within 1 second of just getting down the stairs. But they don't need to be done, they're just in my head.
Oh yeah. Well, that's ego, and I have a compilation called Connecting to the God Self. It's real. I really like it. We use a lot in our workshops, and that's on YouTube, and it's all about many things, but one of them is like, really managing your ego. And there's some really great things where you just say, when the ego starts talking, you say, okay, ego, thank you so much for your input. Now go over there and sit in the corner and be quiet for a while, because I don't really need this right now. So you have this.
Thank you. Just,
just thank you so much. But can you go sit over there? Because really, I don't need to listen to that right now. So it's this constant, moving away from it. But again, our journey to connecting with sound and what is true and what is the essence of who we are, which is the God, self, God. And so we just have to keep going there. Let me go back to what is real. Let me go back to what is important. Let me go, it's like, okay, so that is the right here, right now.
Right. And ego, ego gets a bad rap.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
Oh, yeah,
because,
it does.
Yes, ego is necessary. It's essential. It's what it allows us to manifest with our individuated essence in this physical reality. So it's necessary. It's just when we get caught that's all there is. It's necessary for discrimination. What's self, what's not self, what's good. That's all necessary. It's just that, and on a side note, it's like all of our devices, our media, everything is designed to capture that and keep it captured, because, well, you can control somebody that way, but you can also, profit from it in the long run.
It's interesting because I was listening to Kate Hart. We like listening to
so I tell some of the kids, turn off your computer, turn off your TV, turn off your phone, turn off your everything, turn off all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So you can reconnect.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Actually, we've got an Om chime.
There you go.
To our next to where the kids, because we let them have a little bit of game time, because they just want to be able to socialize with their friends as well. Not like on the games, but just be able to talk to people about it. But they have to dong the on-bot chime after they've finished their session and stand next to it for a little bit so they can ground themselves.
Well, Steiner, he had a real interesting take on this, and I agree too, is that, again, this, and Gretchen and I were just talking about this morning, is that the whole connecting to, especially young people, but I am really connected to the internet too, but is that is understanding that as our youth and the next several generations will be deeply connected to the AI, and who knows for how long and any of that. I don't worry about that, because it will be through that they will find how empty it is, and then puts them in the search of what is real. And they will be smart enough and savvy enough with technology where that may be it provable, right? So they're setting off on their own journey that may not look anything like ours. So again, I don't go into the hysteria at all. And I just say, well, this is part of the evolution, and they're going to utilize that because they'll feel the emptiness and and then in search of what is real, because we always return home.
Yes, we do.
Always return home. And so, okay, so they'll be on that journey. Do you see what I mean? It's like all the panic that people go into about all these things that I just refuse to be a part of that dialogue. I can see how it will play out, or I think I can. And I think the other piece of it too, that's, part of ego, is I believe that everything I know is wrong. And so when it's, us walking around, with, even though I'll say this drives me crazy, people say that, I do in the background dialogue in my head is, you could be wrong. So, because none of us has access to the big picture.
Yeah, you could be disproven, because, and that the true scientist stands on the precipice, knowing that his theory that he just proposed and proved has the potential to be disproven. And if you're a true scientist, you understand that and you're ready for it. Well, I don't see that in science nowadays. What I see a lot of times is the exact opposite. No, this doesn't fit the picture. Let's toss it out. Maybe it's because I'm a homeopath and there's no place for energy, even though it's what drives everything. There's no place for it. Yeah, if it doesn't fit the model, then we toss it out. It used to be, if it doesn't fit the model, then why is that? What are we missing?
Right.
There's something wrong. You don't say it falls outside the belt curve, so toss it.
Yeah, that's what's heartbreaking about the whole truther movement, which I'm a proud card-carrying member, but is that there's no discernment anymore. And so, let's just go. I don't want to, well, I mean, it has to
No, no political.
Yeah.
It's not political.
We had this conversation beforehand.
No,
politics. Okay.
No, I want to talk about the weather. And so people are so misinformed about weather, and we're in a grand solar minimum. So again, we buy into the hysteria of like everything is man-made and they're creating now. I'm not saying that doesn't go on. What I'm saying is now we're negating what's happening naturally on our planet, right? And so it's up to us, if we're going to comment on these things, maybe do a little research, or maybe just be quiet about it, because there's, first of all, Mother Earth ultimately will have the last say. So let's just, I mean, if she wants to get rid of us, she'll shake us off like a dog does fleas, right? So, so we might want to respect that, but, we're going to see increased weather anomalies daily, because we're going into a grand solar minimum, which changes the frequency of the planet. Besides, we're looking at a magnetic reversal. This is huge stuff. It's huge. It happens every 11,500 years, and then there's cycles that happen every 138 years, and we look at those cycles, and we could plan for them. Instead, we're walking around hysterical, pointing the finger at, you did this and you did that, and they're doing this and they're doing that. How about if we look at the natural cycles, do a little bit of research, and then we can plan for that and live within those changes, right? Those are powerful frequencies. So that's just my point, is that
there's a lot of people out there that are all right, that are all singing their song, and their song is truth, that in their world,
that's right.
you know, there's whatever it is, I always say 8 billion people. So there's 8 billion worlds, really, aren't there? Within
Yeah,
one
sure.
world, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it seems to be so many people that are so focused on their own truth. And we've both had this sort of slight realization recently of taking that step back and just sort of listening and observing and just.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Just be an observer.
You get sucked into other people's truths, can't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we all do it, and we all have done it, and that's how you learn not to do it. Yeah. So yeah, no, absolutely.
Not
so
coming through their truth, going back to sound, through their sound, through
their always sound. It's always sound. I don't have the book. Gretchen, do you remember the book we were reading? The Sufi wrote it. I don't have it, but I will get it to you so you can put it in the links. This book is amazing. And it's written in I think 1928, and it's by he is a sound healer, but he's so much more than that, and he's a Sufi, so he's very guru-like. And man, when you get done reading that book, it's a whole different reality, and really profound on what sound is and how it plays out. And then you get to a place now, when I walk into a restaurant, I can hear the frequency. It sounds happy, it sounds sad, it sounds, the other day I heard a dad yelling at his kid, and went, wow, that frequency is harsh. Right now, right? You just go, whoa, man, maybe he might want to find another way to communicate that, because and there's no way that son's going to take that in. I could already see the kids shutting down. You just watch it. And that's just observing the impact of frequency. You don't even have to hear the words.
Yeah, and actually that puts us on to, if you're toning or doing something within your own body, do you have to prepare yourself? Do you have to be in a good mood?
As in, right before you may record and things. That's how we was thinking about this, weren't we?
Like, do you have to be in that joyful mood? Because will that portray the essence of where you are at that time? And whether
I think the way to the sound is through sound. So maybe it may not be the sound that is the healthiest or the best, but it's through that sound that you'll get to the sound that may be the sound that's significant, because why? There's nothing else but sound. See? And then, believe me, it's after we were reading this book, it just keeps reminding you, oh yeah, that sound too, and oh yeah, that sound and everything's sound, and oh my gosh. And even though I work in sound, I'm not thinking like that, because we just don't, so that's something I want to say over and over and over again in my work and in our work as we move forward, and why I want to continue doing like core voice connection and working on people's personal sound, because there's nothing more important, or nothing else exists.
And we use the word sound because it's something that's tangible, it's graspable. But when we really say sound, we mean frequency, we mean vibration. It can be things that are outside of the realm of hearing, even what you see, all your senses, they're vibrational. So
that's something else we spoke of earlier, even going back to the aromatherapy and how things are called notes. It's like with perfumery, everything's in a note, your top notes, beta. I'm like, now that we're more tuned in today, because we was obviously going to be chatting to you and looking at it, it's like it's everywhere, even the way that it is shared.
I've got
Pythagoras called the rocks and stones, because he was a sound healer, one of the first sound healers, or maybe not, but one of the first well-known sound healers, and he called rocks frozen notes. I love that. I just love that. There's just
yes, crystals.
Yes. So and any rock on the planet, any little stone has a frequency and has a story. You know, it's beautiful. I mean, we're really living in the middle of a symphony. You know, we just can't hear it all the time. I wish I could, you know, because my dream is to, you know, hear the frequency of like, you know, an herb, you know, like rosemary or something. Go, oh, here's rosemary. You know, let's use that. I mean, and believe me, I spent 8 months with an engineer trying to figure out how you could isolate those things in the frequency, and it's beyond us. We just couldn't come up with, there's so many variables that would compromise it. It just goes on and on. But I wish I could do that, because it, and we will be able to at some point, but wouldn't that be amazing?
I bet you do, to a point, because, you know, when I do think that plants energetically talk to us, whether that's through their own, and that's going to be frequency.
That's their
right?
frequency, that's their communication, right?
So you're probably
Right.
we're probably hearing it.
Because I've been making a few blends recently, and I've said to you, another girlfriend, I don't know why, but Angelica root is just shouting at me all the time for no reason. She's not next to me. I don't have the herb or the plant growing in my garden. I haven't got the aromatherapy near me, but it just seems right now that is a particular plant that needs to be used. And when you look at what Angelica root does, it's connecting root to ground, but it's going through every single energy chakra. It's lifting you so you are still connected to divine or divine intelligence, God, whatever you want to call it, but you are rooted at the same time. So whether that, as Claire said, if that is a frequency, if that is a voice, at the end of the day, that resonates. And that frequency I can feel right now.
Yeah, I had a coworker, because her and her two sons, they were like 12 and 8, and they were growing, one of the things they were growing were cabbages. So they would tell this one cabbage every day how much they loved it. And so you know, and the boys were into it. I love you, cabbage, you're the best cabbage, and you know, stuff, right? And so I know that, and so when it was time to pick the cabbages, when they cut that cabbage open, there was the shape of a heart in the core.
Oh,
I know. I mean, it's powerful. I mean, I'm not, it's one story. I don't know. There's a YouTube video you gotta watch. It's like called the Lady and the Bee, or the Woman and the Bee. Anyways, she sees this bee struggling, has one wing, and so she like friends this bee and takes care of it, and they like develop this relationship. I mean, you gotta watch this thing. And
yeah, quite recent.
Yeah, it's been, I think, about a year now.
Yeah.
And so when you watch it and you go, oh my gosh, you just see, man, I'm missing so much of what is I can connect with. This is just crazy. You know, I mean, you know, how many times have I seen a bee struggling and I never thought, gee, I'll go make friends with it. I mean, see, you know, it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah, and to your,
with regards to, because we've interviewed Veda Austin and Gerard Pollock, and obviously we that fan. So what do you have thoughts around water? Because obviously we talk about frequency being everything. What are your thoughts around water with regards to frequency? Do you think that water is frequency too, or?
It's a great memory holder. I mean, it really has the ability to hold memory, but I think Gretchen is much more able to really answer that than I am.
well, his work that he's done is absolutely stunning. It's profound. And when you consider that the body is, you know, how much water we have in tissues in our body and how many molecules in our body, we are mostly water. So I believe that whatever energy you're using imparts its structure, much like he talks about. It can impart its structure onto the water. So whether you put that into a remedy and you take that remedy, or if you ingest it, or if you're around energy frequencies, it'll structure that water around the cells of your body. And that's how I think things are communicated. It's not that the sound heals you. It's not that the light heals you. It's not that the electromagnetic frequencies coming off of some box heal you. It's what it's doing is it's changing the vibrational frequencies and the structuring of the water around the tissues, and that's what does the healing.
Yeah, we're on that page, 100%.
Mm.
I just wondered what you thought.
Yeah, what your thoughts were.
Oh, ladies,
What a chat! We've gone everywhere, haven't we? It's been brilliant.
Thank you. We enjoyed this. I
Yeah, that's
enjoyed
fun. You'll
this very
probably get
much.
off and go, oh my God, those women just never shut up.
no,
Oh,
oh
not
my
at all.
God,
We've all been
honestly,
vibing together. It's
I've
been perfect.
absolutely loved it. I've almost been in tears. I've laughed. Honestly, it's amazing. I love you guys
And
so
I can't
much.
wait to really get on. What's it called? Sayonic 3.
Yeah.
And what was the other one you said about the God one?
I've got connect
to the gods. That's going to be my go-to this
Yeah,
week.
connecting to the God self. I'll tell you the ones that I think, and if you need links to them, you can put them below.
Send
So
them all below.
the ones are Sayonic 3. That's the music that was studied. The other one is connecting to the God self. That's a meditation. So a lot of talking on that. That's to keep you out of ego, so don't get frustrated with it. But there's a lot there on that one. The other one that I like is transformation, which is that's based on old numbers, frequencies that I found in a very ancient book, and I knew it was something special. And that was a year journey, and each one of those frequencies it impacts one of the main systems in the body, from the lymph system to the endocrine system. So that's pretty strong. And then we have a new one that will be ready to go, I think, after this weekend, called The Color of Sound. But that one isn't free, but we can send you a link to that one. The rest of them are free.
We can put it on the website if that's possible. We'd love to.
Sure. So therapeuticsoundandwellness.com. And if you go to the sound healing page on that and click on it, it will take you to maybe different illnesses and physical challenges you have. You'll see and if you click on any of those, say if you have a headache, click on headache, and it will take you to the link, the musical link on YouTube, which is free, so that you can listen to it. There's nothing like it in the world. It's the only website I know that has that. And then I have Michigan Voiceover Talent. And that's just, all the training I do for commercials. I train people to do commercials and singing lessons and core voice connection. And then Gretchen and I work together on the core voice connecting workshops. And but anyways, let Gretchen talk about her stuff.
Oh, and so my practice can be accessed through naturalpathconsulting.com. There's a ton of information on there. I have a blog newsletter that comes from there, and I have another site for healing stories called the quantumheart.net.
Yeah, and I have a YouTube channel. It's
gardening. I saw that today.
Yeah, so you can go to actually, if you just go to Radical Gardener Kate Hart, you'll find that. But yeah, so I do have that channel too. So yeah, we're out there kind of.
One more question. So when we're listening to these meditations and sound healings, harmonics, that your bioacoustics should you sound along with them, or are you just receiving?
I think it's, in my opinion, be quiet and take it in. Sayonic is so because it's so natural and it's so connected to earth and the Schumann resonance. You can have that playing on in the background when you're doing your housework, or you can listen to it at night so that you're able to sleep. That one is just so natural. The other ones, you'll probably want to be quiet and take them in. It can be pretty strong. So wouldn't you say, Gretchen?
Yes. And some of them, like there's a part in Sayonic where the chant, the sacred chant for the different chakras, some people choose to chant along with those. And when I have group healing sessions in my office, sometimes people will chant through that part. It's really it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah. And there's one too that's got all the chakras, and so it's a lot of stuff.
And both of everything that you do could be done online. So your one-to-ones, because obviously we've got UK-based people here. So
Yeah, I'm pretty set up for that, you know, and I don't know how much Gretchen is willing to do online, but I know that when I do the core voice, I really like her to be there because she brings all the science,
Yeah.
and that's so important. You know, now I really want to be careful about making any kind of claims and just be incredibly responsible for, you know, what we're saying is true. And as you see the value of what she knows, it really cements that information into that intellectual mind, you know, that we need to keep engaged.
Oh, and if people are interested in more, the research and everything that we did for Sayonic can be found in my one book called The Power of Vibrational Medicine Healing with the Bioacoustics of Nature.
As well.
Yeah. And the second one was more designed for the client to help the client understand the healing process and how energy healing, whether it's homeopathic, homotoxicology, whether it's sound, craniosacral, how that impacts the body and the changes occur energetically first and then manifest physically.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Oh, thank you so much.
We'll put them down.
Yes,
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, let me write that down.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ladies. Love to you both. It was amazing. And we'll see you again, I'm sure of it.
Yes, we will.
Okie dokie, you guys have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.